Ever feel like you're stuck in a rut?
Yeah.
You know, like even the smallest tasks feel impossible, like climbing Mount Everest or something.
I've been there.
Well, today we're diving deep into motivation with Dr. Andrew Huberman. We've got a fascinating clip from one of his videos all about dopamine.
No?
But get this, it's not just about those dopamine highs.
Right.
We hear about all the time, like winning the lottery or something.
Yeah.
This is about something way more fundamental.
So, like, having a powerful engine in your car,
Okay.
but barely any gas in the tank.
I like that.
You know, those dopamine highs are like bursts of nitro.
Oh. Okay.
But you need that steady fuel source to really go the distance.
Okay, so how do we fill up our dopamine tanks? Dr. Huberman outlined some surprisingly simple practices. And the first one might seem pretty obvious. Sleep.
Sleep, yeah.
But there's a twist.
It's not just about the hours.
Right.
It's about how sleep replenishes your dopamine reserves. It's like your brain's nightly dopamine factory working hard while you rest.
So skimping on sleep is like shutting down the factory before it can finish production.
Exactly. And that sluggishness you feel,
yeah.
that's a sign your baseline dopamine is taking a hit.
Makes sense.
Low dopamine, low motivation. Vicious cycle.
All right, so sleep is crucial.
Absolutely.
What else can we do?
This next one's a game changer.
Okay.
Non-sleep deep rest. NSDR.
NSDR.
Yeah. Think of like a power nap for your brain's dopamine levels.
Interesting.
Studies show even 10 minutes can boost dopamine by a whopping 65%.
Wow, 65%. I've dabbled in meditation, but I haven't tried that specifically.
Yeah. While they are similar, NSDR focuses on slowing down your exhales and systematic relaxation,
Okay.
which has been shown to directly impact those dopamine pathways.
Hmm.
It's like hitting the reset button on your brain's reward system.
Okay, so we've got sleep, we've got NSDR. What about food? Does what we eat affect dopamine?
Absolutely. There's a specific amino acid, tyrosine. It's crucial for building dopamine.
So what foods are packed with tyrosine? Give me the dopamine superfoods.
You might be surprised to learn that Parmesan cheese is a great source.
Really?
Also, meats, nuts, even some veggies like spinach are high in tyrosine.
Interesting. So it's not just about avoiding junk food. It's about actively fueling our brains with the right stuff.
Exactly.
You know what else is surprisingly important for dopamine?
Let me guess. Sunshine.
Yeah, you got it. We all know sunlight helps us wake up.
Right.
But there's a deeper connection to dopamine.
Morning sunlight triggers a cascade of effects in your brain, including a boost in dopamine production. And this has to do with something called the cortisol awakening response.
Cortisol.
Yeah, basically how your body naturally releases cortisol in the morning.
Oh,
Sunlight helps regulate this response,
got it.
which in turn influences your dopamine levels throughout the day.
So soaking up those morning rays is like setting the stage for a more motivated day.
Exactly. It's like giving your dopamine system a jump start.
Now, I'm sure some people are listening and thinking, what if I'm just wired to be low energy? Dr. Huberman does mention that genetics play a role in dopamine, right?
There is some variation in dopamine levels based on genetics.
Okay.
But the key takeaway here is that everyone benefits from these foundational practices.
So it's not a free pass to just give up.
Right.
We can all take steps to optimize our dopamine.
Absolutely.
This is making me think about people who just seem to have boundless energy. Are they just blessed with high dopamine genes?
While genetics might give some people a head start,
Right.
engaging in these practices is like leveling the playing field.
I love that.
It's about maximizing what you have control over
Okay.
and creating an environment where your brain thrives.
This is awesome. It feels like we're taking control of our motivation instead of feeling at its mercy.
Totally. You know, as we're talking about sleep, NSDR, nutrition, and sunlight, it's striking how interconnected these practices are.
Yeah, it's like they all work together to create this symphony of dopamine in our brains.
Precisely. Each practice acts synergistically, creating an optimal environment for dopamine production.
So it's like a chain reaction. Improving one area has a ripple effect on the others.
Exactly.
Like if you're getting enough sleep, you probably have more energy to make healthier food choices.
Yeah.
And to get outside for some of that morning sunlight.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Creating those positive feedback loops is key.
That's encouraging because it means we don't have to make drastic changes all at once.
Right.
Even small tweaks in one area can have a surprisingly big impact overall.
Absolutely. You don't need to completely overhaul your life to see those positive changes.
Right.
Starting with something as simple as a 10-minute morning walk in the sunshine,
Mm,
or incorporating a short NSDR session can be incredibly powerful.
I love that. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And as you experience those benefits,
Yeah.
you'll naturally feel more motivated to keep going.
Yeah, it's about building momentum and finding what truly works for you in the long run.
It's about making those sustainable changes that become part of your lifestyle,
Yeah.
rather than just another thing on your to-do list.
Speaking of things that work,
Uh-huh.
has anything from Dr. Huberman's work really stood out to you?
You know what surprised me was how much he emphasizes the timing of sunlight exposure.
Okay.
It's not just about getting any sunlight throughout the day.
Right.
It's specifically about that morning sunlight.
Right.
Why is that so crucial?
It's all about that cortisol awakening response we talked about.
Okay.
Morning sunlight helps regulate that cortisol surge, which sets the tone for your dopamine levels and energy throughout the day.
It's fascinating how something as simple as stepping outside for a few minutes each morning
Yeah,
can have such a profound impact on our brains.
it really is.
It's like a free life hack.
Totally.
Okay, so we've talked about the science.
But let's say someone is listening and thinking, all right, I'm sold on boosting my dopamine. Where do I start?
Okay.
What are some practical, actionable steps they can take?
That's a great question. The beauty of these foundational practices is that they're relatively easy to implement.
Yeah.
You don't need any special equipment or expert knowledge.
Right.
It's about incorporating simple but consistent changes into your daily routine.
I love that. So let's break it down. First up, sleep. What are some simple ways to improve sleep quality?
One of the easiest things you can do is create a consistent sleep schedule.
Hmm.
Try to go to bed and wake up around the same time each day,
Yeah, okay.
even on weekends if you can.
I know that can be tough for people with busy schedules.
Of course, life happens.
Yeah,
But even aiming for consistency most of the time can make a difference.
right.
Another simple tip is to create a relaxing bedtime routine.
Okay.
Take a warm bath, read a book, listen to calming music. Anything that helps you unwind and signal to your body that it's time for sleep.
And what about the sleep environment itself?
Make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool.
Okay.
These factors can significantly impact sleep quality.
Got it.
And of course, avoid caffeine and alcohol close to bedtime, as they can disrupt your sleep cycle.
Great advice. What about NSDR? How can someone easily incorporate that into their day?
There are tons of free guided NSDR meditations available online.
Oh, cool.
You can find them on YouTube, Spotify, or various meditation apps.
Okay.
Start with a shorter session, maybe 10-15 minutes,
Okay.
and see how you feel.
They can gradually increase the duration as they get more comfortable.
Exactly.
What's the key thing to remember about NSDR?
The focus is on slowing down your breathing and systematically relaxing your body.
Okay.
It's not about clearing your mind completely or achieving a meditative state.
Right.
It's about allowing your mind and body to deeply rest and recharge.
So simple yet so effective. What about nutrition? How can people easily incorporate dopamine-boosting foods into their diets?
One of the easiest things is to ensure you're eating a balanced diet with plenty of fruits, vegetables, and lean protein.
Okay.
And of course, include those tyrosine-rich foods we discussed earlier.
Like that delicious Parmesan cheese.
Exactly. Sprinkle some on your pasta, snack on some almonds, or enjoy a lean steak for dinner.
Okay.
Even small changes like this over time can have a noticeable impact on your dopamine levels.
And finally, let's talk sunlight. How much morning sunlight is ideal?
Aim for at least 10 minutes of direct sunlight first thing in the morning.
Okay.
Step outside, take a walk, or simply sit on your porch and soak it in.
What if someone lives somewhere that gets limited sunlight, especially during winter?
A light therapy lamp can be a great tool to help regulate your circadian rhythm and boost your mood if getting natural sunlight is difficult.
So there you have it. Some simple, practical steps to incorporate these foundational practices into your daily life.
Yeah.
It's not about being perfect, but making a consistent effort over time.
I love that. And it's about finding what works for you. Each person's journey is unique, and what works for one person might not work for another.
Right. We all have different lifestyles, genetics, and preferences.
It's about finding what feels good and what you can realistically maintain long term.
Yeah.
It's about creating a lifestyle that truly supports your overall well-being, not just temporary fixes.
I think that's so important to remember. We often get caught up in the idea of making big changes,
Yeah,
but sometimes the smallest consistent steps are the most impactful.
you're absolutely right. It's about forming those positive habits that become second nature over time.
And this is a journey, not a destination.
Totally.
We all have days when we feel super motivated and others where we struggle to get going.
That's part of being human. The key is to be kind to yourself and not give up.
Yeah.
Just keep coming back to those foundational practices.
Yeah.
And trust that they're working behind the scenes to support your dopamine levels and overall well-being.
That's such a great reminder.
You got it.
It's about progress over perfection and focusing on the long game.
Exactly. And don't forget to celebrate those small victories along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get 10 minutes of sunlight today? Awesome, that's a win.
I love that.
Chose a healthy breakfast?
Yep.
Another win.
It's about acknowledging those small victories and building that positive momentum that keeps us moving forward.
Small changes lead to big transformations.
Okay, we've covered so much about the science of dopamine, those 4 key practices, and how to make it all work in real life.
We've also talked about the importance of consistency,
Right.
self-compassion, and celebrating small wins.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
So throughout this deep dive,
Yeah.
what has been your biggest aha moment? What's really resonated with you?
Honestly, the most impactful realization for me is that we have much more control over our motivation than we often think. You know, for so long, I believe that some people were just naturally motivated, while others just weren't. But learning about these foundational practices and how they directly influence dopamine has been a game changer. It feels empowering.
I completely agree.
Right.
It's not about forcing ourselves through sheer willpower. It's about working with our brains, understanding how to optimize our natural chemistry to achieve our goals.
We're not fighting against our biology. We're learning to work with it.
And speaking of working with our brains, one of the most fascinating aspects of this is neuroplasticity. The brain's remarkable ability to change and adapt throughout our lives.
So we're not stuck with the brains we were born with. That's incredibly hopeful.
Not at all. Our brains are constantly evolving based on our experiences and behaviors.
Okay.
It's like building a muscle.
I like that.
The more we engage in these foundational practices, the stronger those dopamine pathways become.
So anyone listening who's feeling stuck or unmotivated should remember they have the power to reshape their brains and create a more energized, fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
It all comes down to taking action and being consistent.
Absolutely. It's a journey, not a sprint.
Right.
And just like with any journey, there will be ups and downs.
Oh.
The key is to be kind to yourself and not give up. Just keep coming back to those foundational practices and trust that they're working to improve not just your dopamine levels, but your overall well-being.
That's a great reminder. It's about progress over perfection and focusing on the long game.
Exactly. And don't forget to celebrate those small victories along the way.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Every effort we make to prioritize our dopamine is a step towards a better, more motivated version of ourselves.
Now, before we officially wrap up, I want to touch on something else Dr. Huberman mentioned.
Okay.
The idea of dopamine peaks versus baseline. We focused on raising our baseline.
Right.
But he also talks about the importance of experiencing those occasional dopamine peaks.
Yes, those peaks are those moments of excitement and reward that add richness to our lives.
They're like the fireworks, the celebrations along the way.
Exactly.
We're talking about achieving a goal, experiencing a breakthrough, or having a truly joyful social interaction.
And these moments trigger a surge of dopamine, which feels amazing.
Yeah.
And can actually help elevate your baseline over time.
So it's not just about avoiding those dips. It's also about seeking out experiences that bring us joy and a sense of accomplishment.
And those experiences don't have to be huge or life-altering.
Okay.
They can be simple things, listening to your favorite music, spending time in nature, enjoying a hobby.
It's about noticing those small moments that bring us pleasure and amplifying them.
And remember, Dr. Huberman cautions against constantly chasing those peaks,
Okay.
as that can lead to a tolerance effect and diminish their impact.
So it's about balance.
Exactly.
Maintaining a healthy baseline while savoring those peaks when they arise.
Finding that sweet spot is key to a vibrant and fulfilling life.
Well, I think we've covered a remarkable amount in this deep dive.
Yeah, we really have.
We explored the science of dopamine, those foundational practices, and how to incorporate them into our daily routines. We even touched on the power of neuroplasticity and the significance of dopamine peaks.
And most importantly, we learned that we have the power to shape our own motivation and well-being.
If you're feeling inspired to boost your dopamine, remember to check out the full Huberman Lab video linked in our show notes. It's packed with even more insights and practical tips.
And don't forget, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with us on social media or leave a comment on our website.
We're all on this journey together. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those dopamine levels high.
Until next time, stay curious.